We are live. Fantastic. Good morning, participants. Really appreciate you putting and setting aside a little bit of time for us to chat to you this morning around a couple of the concepts now and for the future. I particularly want to focus into some of the now stuff very shortly. My name is Doug Morrison. I'm head up the Modern Workplace business unit at Braintree. Just a bit of housekeeping to start off with. Please do not feel shy to ask a question in the chat or in the Q&A section. We will answer those questions. We may not get to them in the session, but we will get back to you and we will answer the questions if we run out of time, which I hope we don't. We actually want to set aside a couple of minutes, about 10 minutes or so at the end of the event for anybody wanting to get some clarity out of the salient points that we raised today. All right, so today's session is earmarked as empowering the unsung heroes. Obviously, we're talking about ourselves as users. We want to start looking in at what our users are doing. We're starting to look at how productive are they. We're starting to look at how we can help them. And I think that we are starting to get, we're starting to get to the point ultimately that we can actually have a really good conversation based off of the packs. Next slide for us quickly, Val, sorry. So the key messaging and takeouts that I want to get through to you guys today is that the frontline worker is important to our business, right? Me and you are important to our business in the way in which we interact with our software, and vice versa, how the business interacts with us by giving us the right tools to ensure that we are doing the right thing in our in the business, for the business, to make everybody money or save them costs. I mean, those are the two things that we always look at as individuals. Why is my camera not on? Let me put that on. There you go, so you can see me. All right, so from that perspective at the end of the day, obviously, there are many solution areas. I'm going to take you through a couple of these solutions that, just as a reminder, firstly, but also just as train of thought, because it's important and critical that we start aligning our businesses more and more to secure ourselves and then to take full advantage of all the applications that we have available in order for us to empower ourselves to do a better job. And it's as simple as what it is. The better we get, the faster we get, the more accurate we get, the less mistakes we make, the better we are situated in our business to deliver value. We're always talking about what value does the business deliver to us, but it's time that we start looking at it from a different perspective, and I think that we're going to start getting a lot of movement or move around this in market as to how we build out our value proposition back into the business. Next. Right, so why are we here? Well, a couple of things at the end of the day. We contribute to 80% of the workforce that currently resides in South Africa and probably in the globe. So what does that mean? How do I define that? Well, the other 20% is management. It's people that don't have devices. It's students. It's those kind of people that are eliminated out of the usage statistics that we have, right? So extremely cool for us to be able to have a look at it and go, okay, damn, if that's 80% of the world is people that actually work on a computer in some form or fashion and deliver an ROI back into business, what tool sets do we have available to ourselves, right? So this is a Microsoft house. This is Modern Workplace, and as a result of that, we are going to be talking about Microsoft 365 in all its different flavors a little bit. But for me, what's important is that if you utilize the software, the tips, the tricks, all the bits and pieces that are tied up in our tool sets that we are given as users, the return on an investment is 391%. The potential, right? Why do we say potential? I reckon that can be 600% if we just know how to navigate, understand, and deploy or employ the utilization of the tool sets that we have. All right, so what does this mean for us and we spoke about this, okay? So the ROI is literally, there's a cost minus or divided by the amount of revenue that we can generate as individuals. That really gives us what the percentage of ROI is. What's our spend against what we are making? So pretty simple calculation, very difficult to understand how to get to an ROI based off of some of the softer things that you use to calculate it, like human health in the workplace and so forth, but we'll get to that stuff later. So what does it mean if we use the right tool sets, that we're not bouncing around all over the show? Well, the employee experience at the end of the day, the fact that we are enjoying our jobs because we have the right tools to do it very fast, very quick, very efficient, and deliver an output to whomever is requesting that output, really boils down to, okay, so if I had 10 systems to do the one job, it would be a complicated thing, it would be an expensive thing. So we are able to cost save by having a unified platform. We'll talk about that unified platform also a little bit later. Right, what does it do for us if we deliver to our customer base faster, quicker, better? And we know that everything is about service nowadays. If you don't deliver a service properly, or you make a promise and you don't keep to that promise, you're dead in the water. You lose that customer, the customer moves elsewhere, or if your value proposition is just price, you're in trouble. You have to look at extending services that service the customer and deliver value in order for us to make sure that we keep our customers. So the impact of doing the right tool or having the right tool in place is an additional $1.1 million added revenue to assist our customers. It's a kind of a nice, this is an add-on number when we start extending and using the tool sets that we have available to us in the Microsoft stack. So we'll talk about that also a little bit later on. And then really at the end of the day, I think from our perspective is the less we can make people battle and make errors, the more savings we have in our business. So just like a high level, it's about us. Give us the tools to do our jobs better. We will do it better. We'll save you money. That's my value prop back to you, business. Next slide, please, Val. But before we start any of these discussions, before we start any cloud discussion, before we start any third-party application discussion, before we start any device discussion, it is super important. It is super important for us to ensure that we start on the right footing. And for us, as the modern workplace, our Microsoft Secure Score is the most important measure we have to understand what and how we are performing, from ensuring we are securitized in the cloud against other organizations of a similar size, of a similar shape, of a similar user count, of a similar functional engagement in market. So the Secure Score really, at the end of the day, helps us with a couple of things. Okay, the first thing is we know where we stand. Are we in a good place or are we not in a good place? If you look at the dial, the representation, pictorial representation of the Secure Score on the left-hand side of the presentation, you'll see a 75-point It's not a percentage, guys. It's 75 points out of 100 points. I suppose you can make it a percentage if you're financially orientated. But for me, that says I'm okay. Now, okay for me is not good enough. We have to consistently be looking at our secure score and taking the actionable recommendations that Microsoft make and actioning them. The simplest of them being initiating MFA, multi-factor authentication. Now, I know that your director probably goes, yo, if you make me sign in more than once, there's going to be a problem. And I promise you, I'd rather have him sign in twice than him becoming a risk factor in our business to start off with. But secondly, that you get hacked. And in that hack, it could be anything from phishing, so using incorrect email addresses and things like that to send out notifications to your customer base to pay into a different bank account. Those are becoming more and more prevalent. Or alternatively, they just shut your whole environment down. You can't get your information and you have to pay them some money to release it in phases. You don't want to be in that place. Your director doesn't want to be in that place because he can go to jail for it. That's how serious not adhering to certain policies, processes, and procedures in the information environment can be. It also allows us the ability to then fix what we think is broken or put a priority against that and then get to doing that very, very effectively. The reason I'm having this discussion is because we've had instances where on your website, as an example, you'll put contact us at sales@companyname.co.za or .com, whatever the email address is. It's an administrated or an administrator's account, i.e. the person that set it up is an administrator, is given it administrator rights. The hackers will go and ping against that email. They will get into your environment and they'll just start creating havoc. We've had instances where that's happened, and I'll tell you, it's a nightmare to get back the information after it's been messed around with by these hackers, and they're not nice. They don't just delete it out of your let's say they delete your user account out of email. They also delete the deleted folder on your tenant, and then you're really in trouble because you have no record of anything that's gone on. Okay, so why does this matter? Guys, this is so important. It reduces our risk. It simplifies our compliance. It empowers teams, right? It makes sure at the end of the day that we are comfortable in delivering the information back into the business that we need to. And it allows us the ability to start somewhere on a roadmap to secure ourselves better. So for me, at the end of the day, very important to understand what my score is, and more importantly, how do I get that score to 95 points? Between 95 and 99. I hardly ever get to 100, but I'd rather be at 99 than be at 75. The average starting point for us in a conversation, and this makes me shudder, when we first engage with a customer on managing the secure score, is 35 points. If you think about that, that's 65 chances out of 100 that you could be hacked or that you could be subject to a phishing exercise. Please, please, please look at that. Okay, and these reports have evolved, and I'm going to ask Val just to click to the next quickly. Right, so if you remember nothing else out of this presentation, the whole presentation, but this URL, take a snip of it. It will be available on the slide decks that we'll release after, or the recording that we'll release after. Please, please, please use this. Go and understand what your score is right now, because it's really, really easy to use this. You log on. You have to be an administrator. So go find the person that's in charge of your security and compliance. Ask them to log on using this URL and make sure that you have a starting place, which is the very first column in this environment. It is your secure score number. This client person, whatever it is at the end of the day, your client has an 89.07% compliance. That's very good. The reason why they are slightly lower than the 95, which we like to maintain, is that they also have extended their secure score to incorporate their Azure application, and they've also included their Dynamics environment. So they're platforms that run on the Microsoft secure environment, and they've got their devices recording, and they have their applications recording. So if I go into this customer and I go and initiate, I don't know, Google. No, let's not do Google. Let's do WhatsApp for everybody. It's going to reduce the score because we haven't put in place any multi-factor authentication to get into it. We haven't securitized it in its own little environment. So very, very important that we get to do this, guys. We must focus in on security. Reason being, the guys are not going after Standard Bank, Nedbank, Investec, those guys, to the extent that they used to in the old days. They are looking to us in the mid-market and the small business environment, and they are hurting us. I'm talking to people that have been hacked or phished 3 times already when they don't maintain their secure score. Guys, get it right. Here's how you do it. Go in, go and do the settings that are recommended to you, which is a very small little bit at the bottom of your secure score. There's a view your recommendations, and you can go and very quickly, without spending a single cent, improve your secure score. First step, multi-factor authentication. Thank you, Val. Microsoft 365 is there for a game changer, and I want to talk a little bit around this. So there's obviously a suite of tools that comes from Microsoft in the modern workplace, things to look out for: Teams, Viva, Power Apps, SharePoint, and we're going to do a whole Power App and Power Automate session next time. We've got our endpoint managers for security and AI. You'll be happy to hear we're not talking much AI today. There's a robust suite of certified partner tools that Microsoft certifies that we can use over and over in the customer environment in order for us to get better solutions going. So these are SharePoint, Verde, which is like a little HR add-on into Teams, Operator Connect, which I'll go through a little bit later on, and AI agents, which is development. And then we should not forget the other platforms that we have available to ourselves, which is Cloud, Azure, and Enterprise Resource Planning and CRM applications in the form of Dynamics 365. Each one of these play a role. The Microsoft tool sets a platform on which we can build additional product, but more importantly, the platform in South Africa that's owned by about 80% of the users that are frontline users that deliver outputs to their organizations that drive our economy. Okay, so, but what is important is that we have these tools that are right for us, they're easy to use, they get the job done, and we get to contribute effectively. From our perspective, it is really important to understand some of the business processes that are not catered for through the Microsoft product sets and put in place a solution. It could be software, it could be service, to enhance that environment. And we'll talk about how we did that with telephony shortly. And then, as I said, your whole environment includes everything that you're utilizing, both from a line of business application perspective, like your ERP or CRM, as well as your frontline worker environment. So let's not forget about those applications and what they look like. Next slide, please, Vali. So let's talk Viva Insights quickly. Okay, important. You all have it. Go and download it quickly on Teams. You know, the 3 little dots. Go and ask for Viva Insights and get this up, right? This is my stats. So how am I communicating with my organization? Am I delivering value into them? Well, I don't know. I think I'm spending way too much time in meetings. 80 hours in a 4-week cycle, guys. Half my working month I spend in meetings. Do you think that's effective? Well, we don't know. Let's go and have a look at some additional stats, Vali. Next click. So, what are my meeting habits? Well, there are a couple of things that stick out here for me. The first one is I'm actually either presenting or really listening to a meeting, because there's 62% of the time in a meeting of those 80 hours, I'm not doing something else. Is that a good stat? Well, I think it's quite cool. It means I'm listening more than what I'm actually talking, which is cool. Okay. Do I get many meeting requests that overlap? Yes, I do, but only 16% of the time. So that is cool. I'm managing my meetings properly. I'm setting them out correctly. I'm doing a better job of being efficient. So you can interpret every single day and change the habits that you have so you feel better, first and foremost. And secondly, that you're doing a better job and being effective in your role. Next slide. Why? Well, have a look at this stat. My internal meetings, which I have 3 times a week for a half an hour quickly with 14 people, is costing us an estimated value of 6.3 thousand rand. Sorry, dollars, $6.3 thousand per 4-week cycle. Guys, that's a lot. I need to change that meeting. I don't know how impactful or effective it is. I need to do a little bit of work with my team to understand that. And this ultimately at the end of the day shows us how we do. Now, for the administrators out there, you can see the whole company stats, not by individual, but by usage, teams. How effective is your team's usage? It gives you an understanding of where you need to spend some time, but more important, like you might have to train people, but more importantly, it gives you time, ultimately at the end of the day, around ensuring that you have the right product sets for the right users. Important. Costs are saved by giving the customer the right product set. And we'll talk a bit about that later on in the Kitso's presentation. What I do like about this, though, is it does also give me insights in terms of how I spend my time collaborating with people. So it could be, and this rolls everything up. It's email, it's chats, it's meetings. It tells me who my network people are. Again, past 4 weeks, spent a lot of time with 134 people, but I don't like the fact that the top 5 are all internals. I'm a sales guy and I would like that to be customers. So I need to change my habits, get out of my head in the company, get it externally focused again. There's so much we can do with the insights that we get out of this to determine ourselves what we need to do, importantly, and as important, what the company wants us to do, and are we aligned to our KPIs doing what we're doing currently. Next slide, please, Rally. All right, so we dealt with the Microsoft product, an example of Viva. I'm going to talk a little bit about the extension that we built. So if you go into your Teams environment and you click on your little telephone, the one that has a little red dot on it here on the left-hand ribbon, you will not see a dial pad. This dial pad is an extension to Teams that we built with the help of Microsoft in a certified architecture for us to be able to break out of our internal network into a voice network and make calls. VoIP. Simple, easy to use, less expensive than what you have, a lot of savings included, and ultimately at the end of the day assists us and gives us the ability to be able to make a call out of one screen. I'm more effective. I don't have to go and find the telephone. I don't have to go and find another application to make a call from. I've got it all in one screen. Better for us, quicker, faster, more value. Do things, multiple things in one unified communications platform. Next slide, Vali. Let's not forget that there are other platforms. And I'm going to talk very quickly to this one, which really at the end of the day talks to the Microsoft 365 environment. There are 3 platforms in that environment: finance and operations, customer engagement, which is really CRM, and Business Central, which is a mid-market accounting package, right? So we have high-end finance and operations, the glue between the two, which is CRM, and the mid-market accounting package, Business Central. On top of that, there are standalone apps that assist us with regard to making an impact. Business intelligence, sales insights, product insights, security products like fraud detection that sit on top of that platform that allows very impactful engagement, not only internally, but externally with our customers as well. We align the process of the business to the application, and away you go. We don't change your business process to align to implement the software. It's the other way around. So it's not like SAP. And then we enhance this whole environment with the Power Platform and mixed reality. I'm not going to go into those 2 sections, but Power Platform is your reporting tool sets that are super exciting to work with, as well as your workflows. And we'll do that at the next session. Well, I think the next slide is me done. Just go there quickly. Cool. Thank you very much for listening to me for this short while. I'd like to introduce Diketso Molefe, our account manager, esteemed account manager at Microsoft, that's going to join us and talk a little bit around some alternative, some ways to engage in the Microsoft platform as well. Thank you, Diketso, for helping us out. Guys, thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. How are you doing this morning? I hope everyone is nice and warm and snug under these winter conditions. My name is Diketso Molefe. I'm the Partner Solution Sales Manager at Microsoft. I look after modern work and security. So that's a very long title that actually says that I'm an account manager that looks after partners such as Braintree to be able to service you guys as our end customers. So today's conversation is going to be around M365 frontline workers. And in this presentation, we're going to explore how frontline workers is a solution which empowers essentially modern frontline employees, and how we will cover in this session some of its features, some of the licensing. We'll have a look at the collaboration tools and security. And we'll also then have a look at, if time permits, some of the adoption best practices that we've seen around the world. So we have a very short agenda today. Try and cover all those things in 4 little key points, which is the introduction that I'm going to do shortly. We'll discuss some key features of M365 FLW, as we call it, some licensing and plans, and then we'll look at the communication and collaboration tools. So what I want us to have a focus about is in the session is to have a look at who are our frontline workers, and explain just some of the digital tools that are tailored to ensure that frontline worker roles are improved and are assisting with productivity as well as customer engagement. If we look at our frontline workers, like Doug mentioned, they constitute of 80% of all employees, right, who are essentially in direct contact with our customers. So they interact with your customers on a daily basis. They provide essential services just across the multiple industries, right? And then frontline workers are also the ones who perform key operational duties. So when we look at manufacturing, logistic, and healthcare, those are your nurses, your doctors who are essentially performing a duty to be able to service the end customer. And what we've seen is these frontline workers obviously have a dire need for digital solutions. And when we think about digital solutions for frontline workers, we think about mobility and flexibility, right? So these are two components that are important in order to be able to service the dynamic roles effectively from a frontline worker perspective. So organizations in many industries, such as like your retail, your manufacturing, hospitality, when they think about the types of frontline workers, you think about people who are often working on their tablets or their phones, or who are directly engaging with the general public. So they provide the services, they'll also provide the support, or they'll sell the products, or any employee direct engagement with the manufacturing or distribution of a product, right? For example, if we look at a retail, in the retail industry, your frontline workers are your salespeople who are essentially selling to your end customers. So anyone who walks into the retail chambers, the people who are meeting them are essentially your frontline workers. And we've seen in many retailers where they walk around with a tablet, right? And essentially assisting. I know it happens a lot in the banking industry, where when you walk into a bank, right, you'll have someone who will meet you there with their tablet, and then be able to assign you to the different tellers from that perspective. So what this means is that M365 and Microsoft Teams will need to work together to be able to have features and licensing model that will both support these type of workers from these different organizations, so that they can be able to be mobile and flexible, and to be able to have all the desktop applications that they usually would have, but on a web-based interface based on whatever mobile device they're currently using. So now let's have a look at the overview of M365, right, for frontline workers. So we think about it in essentially 4 pillars, which is a tailored productivity tool, right? So it offers a productivity tools that are specifically designed for frontline workers. And what 2 important factors for any organization is, we want to improve efficiency, and we want to reduce costs, right? So productivity tools that can assist your frontline workers to do those fundamental business principles is essentially embedded in what M365 for frontline workers does. Enhanced communication. So these are the features that enable us to have collaboration between frontline workers and the rest of the teams. So everyone who's working on the back end, everyone who's working in administrative, your finance, your HR decision departments. Enhanced communication is going to be a key pivotal part of M365 frontline workers because those departments need to be able to interact, right, quite seamlessly. And Doug touched quite extensively around security, right? Frontline workers, because they use mobile devices, it's so important that we need to monitor the access and how they're accessing company resources. So security becomes fundamental in everything that we do at Microsoft, and especially from an M365 perspective, where a lot of organizations are implementing bring your own device, right? Which opens up a whole new web of threats that can expose an organization. So security becomes one of those embedded roles when we talk about M365. And as well as anywhere access, right? We don't want our frontline workers, especially our salespeople, to be sitting in the office and using their desktops every time. They need to be in front of the customers. They need to be, in front of the partners, and they need to have access to customer resources wherever they are, right? And that's what allows that flexibility and hybrid working environment. So when we think about M365 frontliners, we think about it being tailor-made just for our frontline workers who are pivotal to the role and success of many organizations. So now let's think about the importance of these digital tools, right? I know I mentioned briefly about communication, but we think about the importance of digital tools into four main categories, right? Which is enhanced communication, which I touched on in the previous slide, about making sure that we're enabling our workers to have faster communication, real-time exchange of information, clearer information exchange, which is important from a frontline worker role perspective. But then we think about as well the second part, which is your streamlined task management, right? So what it does is task management it makes you more efficient with the digital tools that are available in your organization. So we're able to prioritize the frontline worker duties effectively through the task management portion of the digital tools. Improved training. Training will forever be pivotal if any organization wants to stay on top of their game when it comes to any industry, right? Because globalization has made it so that organizations need to get quicker when it comes to training. They need to get better quantity and quality of training as well. And this needs to be accessible to frontline workers as well, where they can interact with their learning resources. And faster decision making is a fourth pillar, right? So with this access to real-time data and tools, resources, your frontline workers are able to make decisions a bit better. I think about the healthcare industry in this instance as well, right? Where real-time information is essentially the difference between life and death. So what are the key features when we think about the M365 FLW, right? We think about the core apps, and then we think about the services that are included. From a service perspective, that's when we rely heavily on our partners, such as Braintree, to be able to service you as the end customer, right? With their managed services, with the offerings that they provide, with the change management that they provide. But the core apps remain fundamental. And with the core apps, and I know Doug mentioned it quite intensively in his presentation, but you have your communication tools such as your Microsoft Teams, your Yammer, your Insights. We use Yammer quite intensively as a not social media, but more of a social platform where we can interact with each other and interact with other people in different parts of the world. Email and scheduling. So this is where your Outlook comes in as your essential email and calendar functions. So this then enables your workers to be able to make their appointments, to manage their emails and messages more efficiently. And then storage and collaboration through your OneDrive, SharePoints, and other collaborative document management tools for frontline workers. So when you think about these core apps, think about it in these three categories, and then you start to familiarize yourself with the services and features between the different plans, right? If we have a look at some of the key differentiators between your F plans, and your E plans is when we look at the F plans, it doesn't necessarily include, the desktop applications, right? So your F plans are limited to devices with integrated screens. So it needs to be a 10.9-inch, it's your mobile devices essentially, and they're able to then connect the different productivity tools on web-based interface. And then, when when we integrate it, we can integrate it into walkie-talkies for security firms. We've seen it work very, very nicely in Planner, which is one of the M365 tools where a person providing a service can then use Planner for people to allocate their bookings and to allocate, for example, in a hair salon, which hairdresser will be attending to which customer, etc. And Shift Planner is a nice tool that we use as well to obviously allocate the different shifts and make sure that overtimes are clocked in and catered for, and approvals from other aspect of teams, right? So so when you think about your F plans, think about it more from a web-based interface, keeping in mind the need for mobile apps, and as well as flexibility when it comes to frontline workers. And then the most important part, and I know Doug's mentioned it quite attentively, but it is so important that we always integrate security and compliance features in everything that we do, especially with allocation of licenses to your frontline workers, right? Identity protection becomes pivotal because it's important that, no unauthorized access to people's devices, if they lose a device as well, right? That no one can be able to gain entry into your company organization through that. And then data loss and prevention. Anything can happen, right? Theft is really big in our region. So we need to make sure that if anything happens, data is never going to be leaked. So we then safeguard ourselves and our personal and sensitive information through whether it's an accidental leak or through a malicious leak, but data loss prevention, it becomes pivotal in that. And then data device management as well, right? Whether we're using a corporate device or we're using bring your own device, there need to be regulations that obviously comply from a frontline worker perspective. And that's me in a nutshell. I am going to hand it over to the team so we can conduct some Q&A. Thank you so much, everybody, for your time. I look forward to the next one.
Okay, so thank you very much. Yeah, I think next time when we deal with the Power Platform, the stack, I think we're going to have quite a bit of fun, and I think we'll have a lot of questions out of that. So yeah, team, thank you very much, the Ketzel, for the enlightening addition. So I don't know whether people have realized, but there is a new, I'm going to say new, an unevangelized product SKU from Microsoft. It fits somewhere between the business SKU and the business SKUs and the enterprise SKUs, and it's called Frontline Worker. It's the F plans. There's an F3 and an F5 plan. There are limitations in the product sets, like the size of the mailbox, the online only kind of discussion that the Ketso had. So if you want more information around that product set, the pricing and so forth, please reach out to us. We're all about ensuring optimization and the best application for the frontline worker to help them best do what they need to do. Also, just like to shout out around the fact that we can conduct some really decent security, in-depth assessments through the CSAT process that we follow. So we apply on your behalf if you indicate that you want to go through this process to Microsoft. Microsoft approves your engagement, and then we run a tool set that allows us to have a look at your total platform and give you some advice around your security, in addition to you doing your own stuff on Secure Score. So don't forget that. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. And the assessment won't cost you at this point in time. It's valued at about $3,500 US. So I'm just going to ask and make one call out. Please ensure that you really need it, because if you don't, then you're just it really takes and sucks up a lot of resource on our side. So get sign off before you approach us, that you can run, that you can engage with us on a CSAT from whomever is your boss. Thank you very, very much. Over to anybody that wants to ask a question. Because I'm kind of wondering how we get that functionality to work though. Anyway. Let's test quickly. Brenton, are you able to ask a question? Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, because I see that you're not allowed to talk to me. Nope. Alrighty, guys. I'm going to save you some time today. Thank you very much for the 45 minutes that you've spent with us. Please look after yourselves. The Ketso, thank you. Valerie and Annette, the team that run silently in the background and allow us to have these discussions. I'm very, very, I'm very happy to be working with you on these executables. Cool. Brenton, I'm not going to tell you about the FSQ now. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Everybody.
Have a great day further.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.